Assalamu alaikum everyone. I'm Aksar Tariq, the editor-in-chief for the CXO Media Properties in Pakistan. And on behalf of my editorial team and conferences team, I'd like to welcome all of you to our session, State of the Enterprise CISO Outlook 2022. Just a quick recap or intro of what we've been up to after the soft launch of CXO Masters Academy with several sessions since earlier 2021. And then our first 7-day-long cybersecurity marathon called Cybersectober conference, where we had invited top CIOs and CISOs in cross-industry sessions, alongside two debut speakers, the Global CIO AKU, as well as the Chief Risk Officer at Mobilink Microfinance Bank, speaking for the first time at a local event in Pakistan. And that brings us a lot of pride because that's something that we have been trying to put together in terms of insights, in terms of content, in terms of data, as to what's happening and landscaping the enterprise media side of the technology industry. So our CXO media brands have been connecting vendors and buyers through our first-party relationships for the last decade and a half. And with this, we are opening the year with a specific tone set towards building insights for the coming year. Because as you all have seen, large enterprises are trying to map out their digital roadmap. And with this, we bring to you the 10th CIO Year Ahead Summit, which we've broken into 5 virtual sessions focusing on CIO, CISO, digital and disruption, startup, and vendor insights, along with the masterclass arena, which we will be kicking off starting 1st February to celebrate a year ahead to a digitally transformed corporate Pakistan. For today's session, the focus remains on state of the enterprise, the CISO outlook. So we have with us cybersecurity and information security leaders who are building their robust security systems within their organizations. I'd like to quickly have our panelists join us for today. We are going to quickly just... So Waqas and Haider, Waqas Haider, he's the CISO at Telenor Microfinance Bank. Waqas, if we could start off with a brief introduction about you, and then we'll move towards Rahim as well.
Thank you so much, Aksa and CISO Media. My name is, as you mentioned, Waqas Haider. I'm working as CISO and Head of Ops Risk with TMB and Easy Pesa. And apart from this, I carry a background of almost 16 plus years in both the conventional and Islamic banks, as well as in the telco industry and the banking industry. Across UAE, MENA region and Pakistan. So I worked with a couple of good banks, commercial banks, Askari, Mirza and Bank of Haider in Pakistan. And I worked with Al Hilal Bank in UAE and a telco called Do Telecom in UAE.
Thank you. Rahim Saab, over to you.
Thank you, Aksa, for inviting me in this session, and assalamu alaikum to everybody. My name is Rahim Pirani and I'm currently working in HCL as an Head Enterprise Security and Compliance. Before that, I have almost around 17 plus years of experience in the industry in IT and information security both. I have worked in different organizations, which includes local and the global banks as well, and some telcos as well. Like I was working in Wari Telecom, and then I moved to Faisal Bank as Head Networks and Communications. And I've also worked in Standard Chartered and Bank Al-Falah as heading PCI DSS implementation and ISO 27001 implementation as well in multiple organizations. Thank you.
So my first sort of question, or sort of ease into this discussion would be, we're talking about the year 2022. A lot of work has gone on during COVID, and all the regulations and other developments that it's brought in. It's also brought in a lot of focal attention to cybersecurity, very well deserved, I would say, and I'm sure both of you would agree, because that's something that both of you have been working on during your careers as well.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam. So we were just doing our round of introduction. So if we can quickly hear from Jawad Khalid Mirza, he's the CISO at Askari Bank, and he wears several hats in his day-to-day career. But we'd love to hear from him.
Thank you, Aksa, for letting me in. Sorry, I'm a bit late, and sorry, guys, and Waqas and who's there on the panel. Sorry for being late. Everybody knows me here. Let me introduce myself again. My name is Jawad Khalid. I'm in CISO for Askari Bank and used to be used to head different banks in my past with the Light Bank and MCB Bank as well. And currently, I am a chairman, Cybersecurity Forum at Pakistan Banking, and co-founder of CISO Forum Pakistan. These are the hats which you mentioned earlier, and this is a brief introduction at my side. Please, that's all.
Thank you very much. So actually that sets the tone right. We were just talking about, my first question in sort of easing the discussion would be, with COVID-19 and everything that's gone on within small and large enterprises, we've seen that the CISO now has a more strategic role in planning and prioritizing the roadmap for the year ahead. What are some of the cybersecurity predictions according to each one of you for 2022, and what is it that we should be focusing on?
Yeah, Aksa, there's been, you already said the nail right. CISOs in the financial sector has become a pivotal role in while becoming a part of the key management. While as far as I see the industry for cybersecurity and the trends going on, it's AI is taking its role, taking its whether it could be your fraud detections and stuff like that. You have to build your controls while adapting AI and machine learning. Then the growth of ransomware, we have to see the hiccups last year in mid last year. The hiccup of ransomware rise up to 150%. I think ransomware and its attack are pre-relevant, and this is going to be happen this year as well. I'm quite certain about it. Third one with this IoTs, Internet of Things, most in industrial attacks gonna be relevant soon. And cost of compliance, we tend to set. We are heading towards data protection bill, and then for the financial industry, we are heavily investing in heavily putting monetary things for the security controls. I think these are the trends which I am foreseeing for the financial industry and the whole security as well. There are many things to it, but the main trends are like that.
So Waqas Sab and Rahim Sab, will give it to you.
Right. So I would like to add, Jawad Sab talked about the emerging threats and what we saw happening in 2021 in terms of ransomware and other threats. I would like to look into the vision and what's going on in terms of what's the government direction and the regulated direction as well on this. So if you see, there's a lot of focus on the digital transformation, particularly in the payment space, and that's where you would see all these initiatives such as RAST. Now you have Asan mobile account, and where the large objective of the government as well as the regulator is to ensure financial inclusion. Now, with financial inclusion from a business perspective, one of the key goal for any fintech or fintech slash bank, which is offering digital financial services, remains to have user convenience, right? And so for any CISO, one of the key challenge remains that how to strike the balance in terms of where you will have current architecture of security and the posture. You need to maintain that, as well as you need to enable quick services on fingertips, and you need to make sure that innovative services are being introduced. So that's one of the key challenges which CISOs would face in terms of balancing the security requirements. And a lot of challenge that they would face is in terms of when you talk about the threats which Jawad sir was mentioning, and at the same time you have the target of your business targets, KPIs, and you need to ensure a business which is more enabled in terms of secure manner, enabled in a secure manner. So that's where I think there will be a great responsibility on the CISOs.
And rightly so, because you talked about financial institutes so much. I think Rahim Saab can add a lot of input there.
Yes, thank you. Talking about the challenges that I would say most organizations are most concerned about. Number one, as we discussed a while earlier, ransomware. It's the topmost challenge that organizations are facing and will face in the future. Not easy. Of course, you cannot guarantee a foolproof security, but ransomware is one of the biggest challenge that any financial organization would face, even any organization would face. Financial organization would definitely be more concerned about. Second is social engineering, talking about phishing, whaling, and these type of attacks are very lucrative for everyone. So social engineering is one of the challenges. Third is the malicious insider activity. I would say that insider threats have always been there, but now when we are talking about the digital age, when we are talking about working from home, it's there is a need of a cyber safe entity now, and the malicious insider activity is very I would say a very challenging thing in terms of safeguarding our organization. Fourth would be enabling the end user productivity without sacrificing security, because end user productivity is of topmost importance. You need to serve the customers, but again, you do not need to sacrifice security. So it's a kind of a balance that you need to maintain, and you need to ensure that providing digital services with the right kind of security as well. And the last, what would I say, is recruiting security professionals. This is one of the challenge, because you do have so many people in the market, but having the right sense, having the right mindset, it's very difficult to have those kind of security professionals, because it's not doing those certifications or reading those books. It's the mindset that is very important. And yes, mindset could be developed as well, but at the same time, you need to have the right qualified security professionals with you in order to support your strategy, in order to safeguard the assets. That's it from my side.
So there are some interesting themes that I've sort of picked on based on your responses from each of you. One is, of course, prioritizing cyber security in business decisions. And offline also, I was having this chat with Waqas where he talked about, bridging that gap between business needs, business resilience, business continuity, while at the same time making sure that enterprise risk management strategies are remain in the focal lens. Jawad Saab, I'd like to hear from you firstly, because I know that there are a lot of CXOs that you've either connected with or spoken to, and also within your organization as well. We know that you've driven that support and direction from the leadership itself. What has it taken us to get to this point, and where do you see this going in the near future?
What you're talking about, Aksa, has been we have witnessed cybersecurity in the financial sector. I have witnessed since 2004. Now, the information, now the realization of cybersecurity with respect to the board level head, board level people, senior management is quite good. Now, they feel the responsibility. They know if we're not investing rightly and properly into cybersecurity and its stuff, we're going to jeopardize anything in future. I think with the past incidents, threat and opportunity, these incidents lead towards, towards the realization that cybersecurity is a challenge. It's not a technology issue, it's a business issue. If you not address cybersecurity right from the beginning of anything, you might hamper anything in the future. I think for the financial industry, I just said, State Bank has played a laudable role in realizing that cybersecurity is a challenge. Cybersecurity controls in, if you have to play cybersecurity controls, it comes with, huge monetary values. I think with the effort of State Bank, now we in a position to have a good standing of cybersecurity in the financial sector, because we need to. I think as far as financial industry is concerned, they are quite in a better shape with respect to cybersecurity, because a senior management, top leadership knows the worth of it. And
Yeah.
by other industries, they are still graduating. SECP issued the security guidelines. They are now enforcing these things. I think by the time it's second one, we as a Pakistani by DNA is a reactive nation. Once any incident occur, we wake up. Oh, हमें कुछ करना है. So by that position, financial industry is performing really good, but other industries has awakening. I took it that way.
And so if I asked you that, many security leaders still express that they're not consulted in business decisions. Do you think that's still the case here as well?
Previously, yes. Mostly, yes. Because the thing is, I criticize my CISO fraternity as well for this. Most of the CISOs with my fraternity usually influence through technology. They mostly don't know about what is the context of the business and stuff like that. We have to act as a business enabler. We have to influence positively from the business side. If you, as a CISO, you have to build your trust to the business guys, कि जी मैं आ गया हूं, मैं बंद नहीं कर रहा business. I am there to support you guys. Let me in your decisions. Alhamdulillah, with a CISO shop here in my bank, I am involved in every decision making, being a part of IT steering committee, being a part of board IT committee. I am the equal stakeholder in the key decision making now. Most of the thing, CISOs are also graduating. They are preparing themselves, while what is the business is, what is the context of the technology is. I think this new CISO shop is graduating. They are now realizing. I think by the time they gonna mature more enough.
Thank you. And I think, Waqas, I believe you do have something to add here, because we were just talking about the software as well.
Certainly. I'll echo what Jawad sir just said. The thing is that, as I said, even before offline discussing, and we're talking about that there was a mindset that, there's a technology, if a person from technology domain, and when he talks about the technology in terms of technical terms, so there was a challenge which I think now the CISOs have quite a long way through, and now they're talking in terms of business language, and they understand that the senior management and the board, what is their expectation and how to sell the security, not just as a regulatory requirement, but to make them realize that how it adds to in terms of the real risk management, like the goals of risk management, how it helps you to preserve the value you create. So for instance, when you, as Jawad Saab talked about the frauds, so utilizing the digital channels, now people know the cost of frauds, and they understand that what's the need of confidentiality and integrity, and also in terms of customer experience, and what's the need of the availability. So before this era, there was the last 5 years, I think there has been a tremendous change in mindset of different people across the board, and they understand that yes, without security as an enabler, we can't actually take any decision. In fact, for me and my organization, it's the other way around. They involve us in every decision, because they think wherever technology is involved, the CISO and the security team should have an approval and a go ahead and to review it. So we think it of now as a design principle that security should be embedded in design of everything you create as a product or service.
Thank you for sharing that, Waqas. Rahim Sahab, is there something that you would like to add to this?
Yeah, just a bit. CISOs nowadays have emerged as the key players in the organizations. Their influence has grown many folds, and what we have observed is they are integral part towards the growth of either we are talking about the CISO, that is let's say CIO, CRO, and of course they are one of the key stakeholders when we are talking about the initiatives that are spearheaded by the chief digital officers, because when you're talking about digitization, security comes with it. So CISOs have the increased responsibility and they are now playing a vital role in the organization's growth. And of course, as I said earlier in my earlier sessions, that CISO is not the Chief Information Security Officer. I would say CISO is the Chief Influencing Officer now. He has to influence, and this is a very, very important role that has emerged as a result of pandemic. Because earlier it was a traditional role of securing the data and the assets, and now it's more of an influencing role. So I would say that CISO has CISO has the responsibility of not only of securing the organization, but also supporting the organization in the business initiatives.
So I really like that chief influential officer. Yeah.
I have a comment to make.
I
I have a comment to make on Rahim thing. What I earlier said, influencing. It's a positive influence. You know, influence when you are influencing someone. Most of the CISOs, we are coming from technology background, right? We CISOs considered to be known everything and stuff like that. We have to influence positively to our stakeholders. Rather, influence might be negative, but we have to, influence our stakeholders positively. ताकि हमसे घबराए नहीं.
So one important theme that I've picked, other than of course the chief influential officer, which I'm definitely going to take away with me today, is some themes that identified by each of you are that top 3 cyber attack organizations are most sort of concerned with, and I'd like to hear your opinions on this. Is that one is of course ransomware, second is social engineering, and third is malicious insider activity. And it's always said that that's the top concern, especially with the work from home or work from anywhere.
Let me add you one thing over here. One more thing which I've addressed earlier. There's a supply chain attacks. A supply chain. We have to see while insider threats are predominant, ransomwares are there, but ransomwares to be carried through some social engineering thing, some phishing, some spear phishing thing. These are the carriers. But now we have seen successful attacks, just like we have FireEye got compromised. Microsoft, we have seen these compromises. This is just because of the supplier chain. Once you're not evaluating your supply chain, you're gonna jeopardize many things into your environment. This is a 4th dimension of it.
Yeah, I'll just second this point here. I think now one of the challenge which is bigger than ever for any CISO. Like initially, the traditional approach with regards to risk management in terms of prioritizing a particular risk, of course, that still has its own importance. But at the same time, as Jawad said, the supply chain attack. So, I mean, not just those attacks which happen directly as an experience to banking industry, attacks which happen to other industries, in the past, such as you talk about last year ransomware attack, where Colonial pipeline attack happened in US. You talk about the Reveal attack. You talk about the SolarWinds attack. So all these happen to give you an idea that the threat actors and the threat landscape and the risk type is evolving. And at any particular time, you need to make sure that once all these risks are there and you identify those, you start planning, at least, from planning perspective, you start planning, and within your appetite and within your, of course, the budget, whatever best you could do to define a framework and put in place all those capabilities against those attacks, such as supply chain attack. And I think this is one of the area which has still a lot to be done in Pakistan, especially with regards to third-party risk management. So I agree absolutely on that.
And do you agree with the other 3? And if there's anything else that you'd like to add in that that remains a big priority or a big topic of concern?
Yeah, I would like to add something. When we're talking about position of CISO and the challenges nowadays as a result of pandemic and digitization, let's discuss about the top investment avenues in the years to come, because that is directly proportional to the work that the security team has to do. That is directly proportional to those qualifications that security professionals need to have. Like, for example, we are talking about cloud security. Cloud security is the #1 investment opportunity, I would say, number 1 investment avenue these days. Secondly, data security. You're talking about PCI DSS. It's not safeguarding the customer card data. Now you're talking about PII. It's very important nowadays as well. Earlier, we even do not know what was PII. Now we are safeguarding a PII data as well. Then talking about the vulnerability management, ransomware and everything that has a direct relation with the vulnerability management. The last and not the least is application security. We haven't heard about much about application security. We haven't focused much on application security, but now we are talking about having those tools which can safeguard our application, which can secure our applications. So there are specific domains that are being created in the information security teams and even IT teams as well to secure those applications. So talking about the 4 top investment avenues: cloud security, data security, vulnerability management, and application security. I think these 4 are the topmost technologies where people would invest, where organizations would invest, and CISOs would be having these in their hands to work upon.
So in addition to that, there's also another factor that comes in, because all of you are talking about trending or upcoming technologies also. With the increase in automation and machine learning, for example, which has been introduced now especially in the banking industry, what are, or even the telecom industry and others, that of course will introduce the biggest transformation in cybersecurity, right, in the next 2 years. How are we looking that these developments are most likely to increase the already existing imbalance between attackers and defenders? What do you think is going to have a greater influence on transforming cybersecurity within these two? Is it going to be automation? Is it going to be machine learning? Is it going to be the hybrid work environment?
Yes, Aksa, we are as a whole, the global shift is being there to adopt AI and machine learning tools. While we the defenders are not, we are awake and we are seeing this growth heavily on AI and machine learning side. But nevertheless, the adversaries are also far ahead because we have to have investments to be proved. We have budgets to be proved. We are lagging behind. We are behind because of the many reasons from them. The thing is, they are hackers. Yeah, adversaries are now utilizing the strength of AI and machine learning quite well. Waqas and Rahim, second to me, that they're heavily relying on these data while spamming, while generating fake emails, while reconning, while to gain access to every possible vulnerable machine on the surface of the internet, right? While we are the defenders now looking upon our strategies. Once we have to do, we have to build our security or orchestration platform on the machine learning and AI thing. Now we are thinking on it. We are trying to build our vulnerability programs based on AI strength. There are many things now. Banking industry is strongly and utilizing AI and machine learning in fraud detection. Fraud detection platforms, and now these technologies are far used in predicting cyber crimes as well. Technologies are coming up, but our adversaries are far behind. We have to cope up, in a quite swift manner. I think हमें पता है, but हम रेट कर रहे हैं उस पर.
I would like to add here, as I see, of course, all these technologies that will become or are becoming, the foundation for any solution or any technology or tool which we use as security professionals, whether it's AI, whether it's machine learning. I see it in two, the two sides of it. One is like, the banks which have good investment, budget, they would of course pursue all these, and they would like to have state-of-the-art solutions in place. But coupled with it, the other challenge which remains there is to reap the maximum, benefit from what you've already invested in. That's where a key question appears or will be faced by CISOs and their team, that how much are we benefiting from the current solutions in place. Now, having said that, I've observed that when it comes to, talking with the management or the board, and there are varying level of, capabilities for different organizations, whether it's about identifying the risks, whether it's or the gaps in the current infrastructure, people or process or technology, whether it's about prevention, whether it's about the detection capability, the recovery, the capability to recover from incidents. So different banks and their CISOs, depending upon the different initiatives they're in, and depending upon the different type of muscle and the budget and the support therein, are standing at different levels of maturity on all these 5 capabilities. So I think what needs to be also addressed as a challenge is to define an appetite in terms of, as an organization within and with a limited budget, how much we are going to invest in terms of in the tools, and what model, layered approach or model that we are going to have. And
Because
Yes.
I have to add one thing over here,
Yes,
the adversities are going so much fast that there's no option, for the financial industry. We have seen in 2018, what was the exposure, that was a small entity, but the exposure was humongous, but the thing is, there is no excuse to it. While the adversaries are taking, AI, and they have different tools in their arsenal, we have to gauge up. We have to, by the time we have to convince our management, and we have to convince ourselves, we are adequately reaping the benefits of the existing tools we have, right? The thing is, what to scale up the level of the adversaries. They're using the technologies and tools. We have to somewhat like we have to cope up with them. By the time we have to cope up with them, it's not a choice. We have to make it.
Absolutely. अच्छा, इसमें एक और चीज आपकी इस बात से बस अब एक ऐड करना चाहूंगा लास्टली, वो ये है कि आई थिंक from my understanding, as you said as well, I see one of the solutions when you talk about the challenges and issues, a solution going forward is that the banks would need to have a cushion and a budget where they bring in some partners, such as, with third party or consultants, which could actually plug those gaps. So there should be a dynamic operating model rather than a fixed model where we have to build a team and to deliver, mature the capability. It is to quickly take a decision, add on to capability by a third party support. I think that's where one solution might come into picture.
Yes.
जवाद साहब और वकास साहब ने काफी ज्यादा डिटेल में बता दिया, कुछ ज्यादा बचा नहीं, लेकिन मैं कोशिश करूंगा थोड़ी सी एडिशन करने की. When we are talking about in Pakistan, indeed, you have budget constraints, budget challenges, and you need to convince the management in getting the right technology on board, and more importantly, what I would say, configure it the right way, because what we have observed many times is that the solution is there, the technology is there on ground, but since it's not being configured, it's not been there in the data center in the right way. That's why it's not been effective. So those ineffective solutions needs to be get off board rather than investing on them and then getting those challenges as well in terms of ransomware and other security threats. Other than that, what I would say that just coming to the solution, actually, what we should do, actually, defense in depth, having tools at the different layers, having the security at the different layers when we are talking about those threats, And most importantly, nowadays, what people do is deploy the zero trust architecture. That yes, we understand that those in from the management side, you have those challenges. You need to convince the management. You need to convince the business. Need to convince people who are there to make the decisions to have those technologies on board. But at the same time, you need to be there with the world, what they are doing, and what we should adopt, what technology we should adopt, because there are so many technologies in the market, there are so many tools in the market, there are so many solutions in the market, but unfortunately, not many people decide those right kind of solutions. So we need to have those done. And I would just emphasize on one thing that is very important. We need to have those zero trust architecture in an organization, that we should not trust anybody. We should have the least privilege accesses. We should not trust anything. We should investigate each and every record. We should investigate each and every request that is coming to our organization. As a result, this would create a more balanced approach in terms of those investments versus the effectiveness.
Thank you. And I think if I were to summarize what each of you have brought to the table would be that, you know, the benefits are clear. It's just that we need to, as we escalate our digital or our digital transformation needs, we should also start in parallel, you know, work on upping our architecture, especially as you rightly talked about. My next sort of inlay would also be into, you know, we've seen an increase in nation state attacks and threats. And that's something that, because each of you belong to the financial sector, which is a crucial, you know, there's no downtime ki to koi permission hi nahi hai. You can just not afford to sort of, you know, have that kind of downtime. How does this, you know, when we're talking about the entire ecosystem, how does this play out within your own roles individually also, and within the larger scope of the industry? How has it changed? How is the outlook, you know, from a consumer point of view? The consumer is now more and more aware. There's a lot more reporting done about it. There are a lot more guidelines to follow. So if we could talk a little bit about that landscape. So
I think
Jawad,
Waqas, you take the lead.
Yeah.
मैंने पहले बहुत बोल लिया, मतलब I just want.
And आपके पास हम end में आएंगे, because you know, you represent, as I said, you know, you wear multiple hats, and there's so much that you need to add to this.
Waqas, over to you, please.
Okay, all right. Thank you. So from nation state attack perspective, I think one good thing that happened recently is the national security, you know, cybersecurity policy. And I think the fact that now we have a documented, you know, list of critical infrastructure and financial institutions, and banking industry is one of those core infrastructure. It is pretty much on the objective, and as a part of the national security, it's one of the key areas where I think government would make sure that all the support is there. That's where I think that all objective is trickling down from government to the state bank. And as you could see, all the maze around how to have, you know, cyber threat intelligence and all these, you know, intelligence sharing, and how to respond to attacks so that our financial industry is stable and availability of services is ensured, and the interest of the customer is also protected. So I think this is from a regime and from framework perspective, we are going in the right direction. As we've already talked about different sort of threats, yes, they would keep on evolving, and they would keep on, you know, as they say, where the value lies, you know, the attack would certainly be focused on those areas, including the financial sector and the industry. And as you see the digitization, as I said, you know, earlier, the digitization agenda and the transformation agenda, where we have now more of players coming in. I think I just studied this, you know, Karan Das report, where 40 plus fintechs are already in the payment space, and many other. So you would see all these areas where the, you know, the payment tapping and the financial would be a very attractive target for all these threat actors. And whether it's a nation state attack, which is a massive level, which is well planned, which has a lot of investment into it and objectives in terms of which impacts a reputation or the economy of a state, I think it's a collective effort that has to be done by the banks to combat it, and through forums such as PBA, which is driving it, where Jawad Saab is driving all these, the school of thought and all, adding value to the regulations in the framework, and then where the state banks, support comes in. I think this is the right start. 2022 is an era where I think it's a true start of the digital banking era. As you see, the regulations have also come into picture. There will be new participants from EMI. They might convert themselves into either the digital retail banks, or there might be new entrants into the digital full banks offering corporate services. So I think there's a lot there in terms of initiatives happening, and in terms of securing all these initiatives, there will be a lot of responsibilities on the CISO, so you could understand how complex things would be.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's how I would add my cent to it. Yes.
Okay, so I would just focus on one thing, that fortunately, regulator is there to keep us on our feet now, because the state bank is actually very, very aggressive in terms of securing the customer data and these information security challenges. And it's high time now that we, as Jawad Saab said, that we are reactive, we should be proactive now, because the regulator is pushing us now. Either you're talking about, let's say, I'll just talk about one or two initiatives like RDA, RAS. You can see those security guidelines coming from the regulator towards the banks, that you need to do X, Y, Z, these actions, so that you can secure the overall initiative. So I would say that it's time now for us to get ourselves be more proactive. As fortunately we have a regulator that is very, very proactive in terms of doing the right things at the right time, and talking about not only the information security challenges, we talk about the availability part as well in terms of customers. So the regulators keeping a right check on the operations of the organizations, that what is the uptime, like we are talking about a financial sector. So what is the ATM uptime, why these downtimes have occurred, having those surprise checks when we are talking about those festivals, Eid and everything. So they are keeping those checks on the regulators, but we on those banks actually as a regulator. But we as banks, we need to ensure that we provide the right service to the customer and secure service to the customer, in terms of talking about availability and in terms of talking about the security. So it has to be a balance. With the help of regulator, I think we can achieve that.
And I think ये जो भी data security के context में addition की Rahim ने, it's very important area. I think talking about information security, we have to secure the information, right? So when we talk about the data, it's at the heart of what we are doing. All these layers we talk about, all the investment that we do in security. So now one of the key challenges that remains and all the banks would be grappling with is that when we are enabling secure business and we talk about secure business, of course there will be and there are a lot of integrations that will happen. A lot of partners would come into picture with your digital platforms, and where your data resides and where it goes and through all different channels that it passes, how much oversight you have, how you protect it, and how you enable the right use cases for the business, which are actually required by the business to deliver the service. Like you cannot, I mean, if you're generating leads on social media, you're actually, you're talking about collecting certain data from customers over social media. So of course that comes with the consent of the customer, but at the same time, you need to protect the data on all the platforms through which it passes. So that's where the challenge of oversight and having assurance to all the stakeholders involving the customer and the regulator comes into picture. And I think there will be, I can foresee as the data protection bill Jawad was talking about, I foresee that there will be more regulations on the data security and privacy in the pipeline that we would see coming in next few years. And with the right scrutiny and balancing, again, I said, as with the appetite, that's where the CISOs will always have a challenge, how to support business and also to protect the data. So that's one of the key challenges that I foresee in 2022 and beyond.
Thank you. And Jawad Saab, now over to you, since we talk about the regulator side, we talk about what State Bank is doing. So now,
yes, I bet give much more insights to you apart from the regulator side. I'm being a part of different forums, different committees over in Islamabad side as well. Being a nation state actor, you were talking about the nation state thing. The nation states means it's an attack, it's a coordinated attack from one nation to another nation that's generated. It requires loads of money, it requires loads of intelligence, loads of hackers. You need many resources to launch an attack on any nation to any asset. The main thing in Pakistan, we have a realization that cybersecurity is an issue, is a national issue. Just like I'm being part of different committees, being chaired by the president of Pakistan and different apex forums. Now they have realized that cybersecurity is an issue which needs to be addressed. We have witnessed a hackathon run by Ministry of IT and Ignite. You witnessed it, right? That's a part of the realization that upper top decision makers have. Now they are now the second initiative after the policy is a national cert. Now things are going up for the national cert thing. While dealing with the nation state actors, you should be apprised, you should need a strong muscle to combat it. There should be a body to deal such kind of attacks. Waqas and Rahim, and being a part of my fraternity financial sector, we are a small sector, right? We are doing our efforts in a silo manner because we have to maintain the trust of the people, because we are the custodian of people money, right? We have to invest, we have to secure the infrastructure for the sake of the people, right? Because the regulator is there and stuff like the people are there. But the thing is, but the critical task just mentioned that identification of critical infrastructure is there. We are running up dams, we are running up, telecom is a critical infrastructure. Other things are part of a critical infrastructure. Once any adversary launch a nation state attack, we are not ready. We just have the realization now that these attacks are relevant. We have witnessed first attack, nation state attack on Natanz, which is on Iranian nuclear facility. Now we have witnessed, just Rahim was mentioning, Waqas was mentioning, these are relevant. Just, rogue nations are, they're melting money, these nations are getting money from these hacks, For this kind of, in order to prevent nation state attacks, you need to have nation state power. We have to realize that this is an issue. Now, the positive thing is the top brass realize this effect. This is an issue. They are inculcating the education side. HECs on board. Now we have cybersecurity programs for bachelor's level, master's level. Now PhDs are going on. whole ecosystem is in a phase of developing, for cybersecurity. I think by the years to come, we are much more in a better position. Rather, we are exporting good resources to, foreign. Now we are pumping more good resources to foreign.
Yeah. And I think that talent, of course, remains a challenge. But as you rightly said, there are a few things that even Rahim Saab talked about, and I'd like any of you to elaborate on this, is that, with so much at stake, 2022 will, of course, witness a major push from non-security to security teams towards the integration of security services and automation and other things that we talked about.
Yes, there is a push. There is a push. Recently, State Bank includes CISOs in a part of the management. Now they are passing the fit and proper test. While now State Bank has declined the effort that any infrastructure manager, any IT manager could become a security guy. Not at all. Proper CISOs to be there to look after the affairs of cybersecurity in a bank. And this is the realization from the regulator side. I think by the time it will go more mature.
Absolutely, and I think we're heading in that direction for sure.
Yeah.
Especially with some of the points that you all have mentioned, Rahim Saab, I'd like to bring the attention towards you for this one particularly, because you talked about infrastructure and how that, of course, needs to be more robust. When we're talking about the industry is right now beginning to understand that by taking a strategic approach to, say, API security, for example, because that's something, especially in the banking industry, it's growing. Waqas have also talked about fintechs and how they are, of course, coming about. So all of these integrations, of course, opens up to a whole plethora of vulnerabilities also, right? Organizations now need to, I think, identify and determine their current level of API maturity and integrate those processes. Where do you think this is headed? Like, what does it look like right now, and where do you think this is headed? And what are some of the suggestions that we can give to organizations who are looking at this?
Well, first of all, just let me explain about this cybersecurity things. It's a complete model when you're talking about cybersecurity. Technically speaking, and there are a lot of things to achieve here. When we are talking about cybersecurity model, it's a network security that you need to have there. Talking about network security, we should have the data security part. I'll not go in detail technically, but it's very important to understand the overall model so that you can cover the 360-degree aspects rather than having specific things in your mind. The network security part, then it comes the data security part, that is talking about those standards and the data encryption and the DLP things as well. Infrastructure security then comes in. It's a separate domain actually, where we talk about the mail security and DNS security. System security comes in with the VAPT, like vulnerability assessment, penetration testing, that the panelists talked about earlier. Application security is there. We talk about the mobile security, which is a neglected part. Normally, people do not focus on that. I think the strengthened part is the risk governance and compliance, which normally every organization has. Then comes the ATP, advanced threat protection. So the replication whitelisting and everything comes in. So just taking it on a not detailed technically, but the most important, these 8 aspects are very, very important when you're talking about safeguarding your organizations and talking about meeting those challenges. So I think that is very, very important. And CISOs and even the IT guys should focus on that, because it's when these two parties shake hands, then definitely the results comes into play, and the businesses are never happy, I would say, but still since we are spending so much, and but overall, in terms of the overall customer experience, I think these 8 pillars should be taken into account before moving forward and before having those solutions in place.
अच्छा, मैं इसमें ऐड करना चाहूँगा. In simplest term, when you're adding a partner, a technology partner, and the integration is via an API, for instance, right? So basically, what's happening is that your arms are getting extended. So the level of security posture that you want to achieve for your organization, that posture, does it exist for your partner in terms of all these areas or domains of security which Rahim talked about? So essentially, when we see a partner coming in, so you would understand that in terms of new entrants which want to, to ride on the payment channel and to connect with the payment channel and to get connected to a gateway, for instance, by any bank, right? So and leverage the benefits of that. Of course, they have their own objectives in terms of payment efficiency, cost effectiveness, etc. But from security challenge perspective, where the IS teams have now a role to play in, not just for their own posture, but to advise their partners. Like you cannot simply pass on the buck of the liability through an agreement that, okay, if should there be a cyber attack, the party is the third party or integrating partner is responsible. I think here is some responsibility, a lot of responsibility that the State Bank also expects, that what is the level of due diligence which has been done in terms of your addition or integration of different partners to your channels. And I believe that that's where there is quite a lot of investment required in terms of time, of course, and which comes into assessing those partners and their solutions before onboarding them and integrating. So for instance, in simplest term, if a solution you just integrate it, but at the same time, there are customers which are being onboarded by your partner, what's the KYC around that? And there are some business questions that need to be assured, how the data is being maintained and what are the security levels, and would that impact your reputation, and would it impact into add on to a digital fraud. So from cybersecurity equation perspective, your no matter how best security you're having, but by adding or integrating a partner through API, you are essentially increasing the attack surface. And that's where you need to make sure that either you provide that service of advisory, or they're capable enough to do it on their own using their own capability.
It's a third party risk, which I earlier mentioned.
Yes.
And Jawad, so is there anything that you'd like to add to, of course, mitigating potential threats and building a comprehensive?
I think we see them as while we are extending, while we're gonna ingest the services provided by the fintech or any company, or we as a bank giving our API to digest any data from our side. It has to be, we have to evaluate it first. What sort of entity we are having a relationship with, what sort of accessibility of data you both are giving to each other, right? While the other background checks are also there, they have adequate infrastructure or not, what are the cyber hygiene of the third party which you are having, you're going into relationship. There are many other things, while having, it's very easy to ingest the API, and we are, by the time our regulator is opening up, we are going towards open banking. We are talking about more, your question is lead towards the open banking side, right? While every bank, every entity is giving their APIs for the combustion of the services, fintechs are coming in, while having those IPs and giving services to the unbanked community, right? While having any relationship on a CISO hat, you have to see the threat profile of the third party, just like we are doing it. Once we are onboarding any entity, we have I just evaluate it from a cyber hygiene point of view, just like we are in a relationship with Hisab Kitab, but their cyber hygiene is too poor. I just park the details with them that you are good in giving these things to us, but you have to improve your cyber hygiene before having a relationship with us, right? We tend to see what kind of relationship we're going to build with the third parties and fintechs.
So I'd also like to add on, I think based on some of the things that Jawad Sahab, you have specifically said, the trends are of course changing with especially with open banking, and as we talk about fintechs and we talk about other integrations that are coming in, because banking now is becoming more of a lifestyle experience than just a one-off service that people require. If we were to sort of summarize this now, I'd like to each of you to just talk about 2022, what the goal should be for a CISO and also for smaller and medium enterprises. And the reason why we ask this question is because all of you belong to regulated industries where there are set guidelines, and then you have some sort of a network also amongst yourselves where you have a lot of peer-to-peer sharing. Unfortunately, for other sectors which are vulnerable, which like whether it's health, whether it's education, it's large industries. However, they are not regulated in terms of their requirements for cybersecurity. So that vision, and of course, where you think they should be taking the direction also. So Waqas, Rahim, we can start with you, and then
would like Jawad Sahab to take the lead on this.
Sure.
Yes, Rahim, you can please take the lead on that. मैं काफी बोलता हूँ यार.
Let's start talking about when we're talking about CISOs. So I would just emphasize one more time about the revised role that the CISOs have now, right? In my perspective, the CISO is now a strategist. That is, CISO is now executing prioritized actions that are linked to the business strategy. That is very, very important, because earlier it was not the case. CISO is now a leader. That is, he or she must be a role model and must actively collaborate with the stakeholders and not just focus on building a technical team. Other than that, he's a trusted security advisor. Very, very important point. That understanding the language of business and helping non-technical executives and board members understand the technical matters. This is very important that Jawad Sahab and Waqas Sahab has already focused earlier. So this definitely helps us make risk-informed decisions in a confident way. CISOs are now a change agent. That is, they are now creating a cyber culture where organizations are more aware about cyber risk and they are contributing to mitigate them. So more of a cyber awareness thing. And of course, I'll not repeat again, he is an influencer. So I'll just, CISOs should be more influencing. They should influence critical stakeholders to support cybersecurity transformation in a positive way. So I would just emphasize some points about CISOs, because that would lead to what would happen in the years to come if the management, if that strategist understands what he or she wants to do, what his or her revised role is, that definitely translates to the team, it translates to the overall culture. So that is very, very important. I would just restrict myself to this, and Waqas and Jawad Sahab, please over to you.
I would like to summarize it in a manner where I believe CISO's role is, as Rahim has already explained, it is not now the time that a CISO just works in silo. It is the broader objective of cybersecurity risk management or information security risk management that should be on top of mind is that an organization, it exists for a value, and the value, the risk management principle is that you have to preserve the value you create, and you need to protect your assets, right? And by protecting your assets, you're ensuring that you're protecting what you have. And when I say preserve or protect, the value we create is that, when you're adding to your bottom line, your revenue, or you're adding to more assets, so all of those assets are secure. So your revenue objective is secure. So now when I talk about all these clarity of mind, and then this is where I think the strategy of any cybersecurity risk strategy of the CISO should be knitted or designed hand in hand when the business strategy or IT strategy is being put in place. And as rightly Rahim said that if you're not having one single strategy, it's a and all the capabilities are not known, you would not be able to deliver to and deliver to the objectives and the expectations of the management. And that with regards to management, you need to talk in their language. So that's where I would say the CISOs have to be part of management. They should be aligned on all levels.
Thank you.
Yes,
Jawad,
please,
over to
Jawad,
you on a quick recap, what trends
Yes.
and where industry should be heading.
Yes, rightly said by Rahim and Waqas, CISO role is not a technology role anymore. It's more of it's an all-around role with respect to the whole organization. Now it's getting into decision-making positions as well. The role of a CISO, becomes more challenging nowadays and more, stress-taking these days. We are working 24/7, by 365. The security operations are running. By the time we have to support our business, we have to work in an agile fashion. We have to abreast with, we tend to know what are the trends in the payment side, what are the trends in fintech side, what are the banking industries going for, and what are the trends in cybersecurity in our domain. CISO role is quite cumbersome, is getting much more limelight, but the thing is, it's a stress-worthy role. It's not the easy job to do, being a CISO, if this is my off time, but West is waking up, you never know what the worst can happen. The thing is, now we have to gauge up ourselves. What are the right priorities? CISOs have to set the priorities, where your business is heading towards. Business priorities, you have to set your priorities with respect. You have to inculcate cybersecurity with respect in any decision business decision you're making to. I think this is all about the CISO role is. I think by the time it will grow much more, and it tend to be might be this role in the banking sector might be reporting to CEO. I think it's pretty that in a very future soon happen.
I think there will be huge security impacts, in the coming year also, because the whole culture of work from home or work from anywhere, it just brings in more and more vulnerabilities, as you said.
Yes, it's hitting us.
Advanced
It's
technologies are coming in, so everything brings its own set of threats with it.
Let me brief you on that, Iksa. I was witnessed with the incident. We were initially talking about the incident in US, Europe. We have the examples here, right here in Pakistan as well. Now, the thing is, these threats, these attacks are relevant. This gonna happen. This gonna increase in manifold. We were talking about the adversaries are leveraging the technology they have on the discretion they have. They are using the technology based on AI, on machine learning. They are far ahead from us. Adversaries are far ahead. The nation state, the reason is that Pakistan has a special physical presence. We are surrounded by the adversaries. Our friends are our enemies, or they're gonna have a tie with our adversary nations. We have to see Pakistan has a unique presence in the globe.
Yeah.
We are surrounded. We have to see. We have to take this. Cybersecurity is a big challenge. The good thing is our top brass is realizing that we are surrounded by a threat.
Yeah.
Our data is at stake. We are relying, on a friendly nations. Those are not friendly. They are having relationship with Israel and stuff like that. We have to wake up. We have to see हमारे दोस्त कौन है इस tug of war के अंदर. So the thing is, the role is much bigger and the responsibility is manifold.
And then, as you said, with all technologies that are coming in, it just makes the puzzle more and more complex. And
Yes.
I think with that, your roles will, I think, sort of keep evolving. And well, thankfully, you'll always have secure jobs, because there will be a lot of work in cybersecurity.
एसोसिएशन बनाने का मकसद, फोरम बनाने का मकसद भी ये था कि हम हुकूके सीसोस को प्रोटेक्ट कर सकें. It's not the CISO की जो बली की बकरी बन जाए.
I would just add one thing. Sirf secure nahi, it would be tough and it would be stressful as well.
Waqas, sorry, you wanted to add something?
I was saying that जो traditional mindset था ना security side पे, it was constrained or limited towards CIA generally. I think now security professionals should add FRR. यानी आपने impact की बात की, security impact की, तो financial impact, regulatory और reputational impact, इन तीनों को साथ लेकर आपने assess करना है whenever you are thinking of cybersecurity. So this is one where जी जवाब सब chat करना चाहिए.
CI कर लेना ये बड़ी बात है, FRR तो दूर की बात है यार. उन चीजों में
Yes, I understand maturity के context में of course it will take time.
Yes.
But in terms of जैसे आपने कहा realization, तो realization के context में yes, this is where I think CISO should see the business side कि इसका financial, regulatory और reputational, और वो जो हमने तमाम discussion की with around the regulations and to keep up with the the minimum baseline that the regulator sets. So of course उसके ऊपर best practices पे जाना दूर की बात. First we have to achieve the baselines and we need to assure कि जी हम minimum security standards maintain कर रहे हैं, which is again जैसे जवाद साहब were talking about कि अब जिसमें players आ चुके हैं in terms of the cyber threat actors in the market. Of course it's $1 million market जहाँ पे threat actors are also, and nation states are also outsourcing activities of hacking and ransomware
service, hack as a service, and many things.
Yes. True.
So I think with this, we'd like to wrap up our discussion. We've understood that cybersecurity will definitely see increased operational budgets, and because of more and more sophisticated threats and consequences, of course, of all these breaches, and especially ransomware to the bottom line. So cybersecurity, I believe, we've understood that it becomes more of a C-suite issue with every passing year, because it can be disruptive and it can be devastating for business. So the business side of things have now finally understood that they need to look at CISOs or cybersecurity experts as part of their decision-making process. And we hope that as you are all planning your priorities or the roadmap for the year ahead, that security and risk experts also, there are some predictions for 2022 that you can also take away from our session today. With this, I'd like to quickly thank our partner Commtel and of course all our panelists for today. So Waqas Saab, Rahim Saab and Jawad Saab, thank you very much for taking out the time and sharing your insights.
Thank you so much, Aksha, and thank you for giving us a platform while sharing ideas with each other.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. And Allah Hafiz from our side.
Allah Hafiz.
Thank you. Allah Hafiz.